Welcome back. We're back. Silver and Blue Huddle. I don't know what episode it is. I'm just excited to be here to talk about football and what we got going on, man. Not too much stuff. I'm back with Esper, by the way. So amazing. Had to take another personal day. So he'll be back next week. But you got me, Richblkman. You got Esper Corner. That's all that you need, considering the topic for today on the Silver and Blue Huddle, man. But let's jump right into it. We got a lot to talk about. I know everybody want to hear our thoughts on the Super Bowl and how we felt and what happened. And I got a lot to say about it. I know he got a lot to say about it. But first, we got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the hiring of Mike Zimmerman as a defensive coordinator. Welcome home, Mike. Welcome home. You was with us a couple of years ago, but welcome back. So, Esper, what do you think about that hire, man? Let's talk about that right quick.
Yeah, I was excited for it. Obviously Dan Quinn was a different type of defensive coordinator. He was more of that, buddy, work out with you, let's be friends type of defensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer is going to be completely different. He's going to come in. He's going to demand excellence from these guys. He's going to run a completely different defense. So I think we talked, last episode about once they hired a DC, then that's when the real work starts, because they got to figure out what guys fit into this defense, what guys don't, what they got to do in free agency. So glad they got it over with. The big thing for me is Mike Zimmer wanted to come to Dallas. After he retired or after he got let go by the Minnesota Vikings, there was, obviously he's been a head coach, but for that head coach to come out and say, look, I want this Dallas Cowboy defensive coordinator job, and I want to do whatever it takes to make this defense successful, is a good thing. Obviously, the defense let us down in the playoffs against Green Bay. So I'm excited to see Mike Zimmer get to work, how he can utilize, Micah Parsons and Bland, and he's going to get Trayvon Diggs back. And so then what do they do in free agency to kind of help this defense? They got some holes to fill. They got some guys they're going to have to draft. So we'll see. But excited for Zimmer to be back. Everybody that talks about Mike Zimmer talks about what a great coach he was, what a great defensive coordinator he was. He was successful with us, back in the 2000s. So we'll see what he does. Excited to get back to work. Appreciate Dan Quinn, everything he did, but hopefully we beat the hell out of Dan Quinn and the Commanders when we see him. But good to see Mike Zimmer back. Unfortunately, that's the only Cowboy news, but I mean, there's something more important to talk about.
There was, I know the hiring of Mike Zimmerman, I know he was trying to get some of his former staff back as well, considering one of the defensive linemen that is actually coaching the Giants, and they did try to reach out to him, but unfortunately the Giants are player hating, and they did deny an interview request from the Cowboys to talk to the defensive coordinator. Not the defense. I think he does a defensive line for the Giants.
Yeah,
I forgot what his name was, but
Yeah, I mean, we did the same thing. We told teams they can't talk to Al Harris.
Right.
So I mean, that's part of the business. You want to hang on to those young, outstanding coaches that you got that played in the league. And so, obviously there's a lot of work to do in Dallas on both sides of the football. But this was just the first step. The first step was get the defensive coordinator in the building, find out what players match up, what he can utilize for his team, for his side of the football. And then, ultimately, can we be successful on the defensive side of the football, which we were when he was here back in 2000. So
right.
I expect him to do everything he can to be successful this second go around here with the Cowboys. So great hire. Can't wait to see him get to work.
Now, one last question about that. Do you remember one standout player that came under the Minnesota Vikings, under Zimmerman, that stood out to you? Was it Harrison Smith? Did he play for?
Yeah, I mean, they've had several. I mean, their front four, their front seven was always good. Their back end, he's a big secondary guy. Right. Deion Sanders has come out and said, look, Mike Zimmer is that guy, right? He is that guy. He knows how to win in the NFL. Defensively, he's one of the great defensive minds. Now he's not a young guy anymore, but he knows this game. He knows what it takes to be successful. So, he's got a big target on his back because now he's, with the greatest franchise in sports history. Whether you believe it or not, look, I get it all the time. It's easy to hate the Dallas Cowboys. They are worth more than any franchise in any sport. When they play on TV, everybody watches. If you hate the Dallas Cowboys, you talk more about us losing than you do about your own team winning. It is what it is. We are that team. It's okay. I get it. I got thick skin. I've been getting it all week now that the 49ers lost the Super Bowl. Old participation trophy guys over there.
And that's a great segue into our next conversation, the Super Bowl. I loved it. Kansas City Chiefs defeat the San Francisco 49ers. Another loss for the 49ers. Their third straight in the Super Bowl. Like, you remember, and the second to the Chiefs, by the way. The first time they lost to the Ravens. The second time they lost to Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. And then here they go again, losing again to Patrick Mahomes. So they can get there. They just can't win it. I don't know what's worse. Buffalo Bills getting to the Super Bowl 4 straight times, or San Francisco losing Super Bowls. Like, let's talk about that, man. What impressed you the most about the victory? Like, let's talk about the Super Bowl. I mean, for me, I can start it off.
They had no business losing the Super Bowl. They literally are dominating the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. Right. They're up 10 points. And we talked about this. We talked about this on the last podcast. That ego of Kyle Shanahan that thinks he's got to throw the football 40 times in a game instead of turning around and handing it to that great running back he's got in that backfield who was getting 5-6 yards a clip and running down the Chiefs' throat. Make the game shorter. Leave less time for Patrick Mahomes to get on the field. Run the football. You got a great run game. Run it. And what did he do? He starts throwing the ball, right? Debo, non-existent. Ayuk, non-existent. Kittle, non-existent. You know who was their best player? Christian McCaffrey. And they went away from him. So that's strike one for me, was that your quarterback threw the ball more times than your all-star running back got touches. You can't do that. It's the Super Bowl. Shorten the game. Keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. You win the football game. Second, how do you not know the overtime rules? How do you not know the overtime rules? Obviously, the old rule was sudden death. You get the ball first, score a field goal, you win. First person to score wins. All right. Then the NFL was like, okay, that we can't do that no more. Right. You got to score a touchdown. If you don't score a touchdown, the other team gets the ball. Oh, well, we can't do that anymore because still it's up to the coin toss. The person who gets the ball usually scores. So now we're going to give everybody a possession. I forget who I was talking to, but if you look at college football, right, 99.9% of the time in overtime, if you win the toss, you play defense first for one reason. You want to know what you're up against. So we're going to give you the football. We're going to try and get you to punt the football or just kick 3 so we know we got to go score a touchdown. That gives us an extra down. We know we got to go for it on 4th down. So the 49ers win the toss, and he elected to receive. As soon as that happened, I'm literally sitting there going, that was the dumbest move you could possibly make, because you are now allowing the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now, the greatest active quarterback. Now, he's not Tom Brady yet, but he is the greatest quarterback in the NFL. You basically told that guy, I'm going to let you know what you need to beat us in the Super Bowl. Right. So we go down and kick 3 points on a 4th and 4, 4th and 5. And then you tell Patrick Mahomes, you get 4 downs to get a first down until you get in field goal range or win the Super Bowl with the touchdown. And what did Patrick Mahomes do? Exactly what he's been doing his whole career.
Walked them down.
He's been doing it to Josh Allen, to Lamar Jackson, to Tua. He does it to everybody. You get a guy to football and you say, go win the football game. He did it with his legs. They ran the football. They found their all-star, they Pro Bowl tight end. They found MVS. They found McCole Hardman. They literally just walked right down the 49ers' throat in overtime, put the ball in the end zone.
100%. Now, Kyle Shanahan did come out and say the reason why he was receiving the ball first in overtime. You know what he said? The man said
his defense is tired.
Well, he said defense is tired. And he also said that if it came down to and Kansas City kicked the field goal, that third possession that they have, he wanted the opportunity to go ahead and close the game out.
Okay.
That's what the man
To
said.
me, that makes no sense. Now, obviously, the 49er gang is going to get in the comment section, whatever reel that gets posted, whatever short that gets posted, and they're going to tell me that that's the smartest decision in the world to have the third possession to win. No, it's not. It's not. Just imagine if you gave Kansas City the ball and you get a defensive stop. You make them kick a field goal, or they got to punt the football, or you get a turnover. Or, God forbid, Patrick Mahomes does exactly what he did. He drives down the football field, puts the ball in the end zone. You now know I need at least a touchdown to keep this game going.
100%.
Because what happened is the worst thing that can happen to you. You go down, you have another horrible third down where Kansas City said, we're not going to allow Brock Purdy to stand back here and throw the football. We're going to put pressure on him, and we're going to play man-to-man and get up in your receivers' faces. And Brock Purdy didn't know what to do. He's 3 for 12 on third down, 25%. You can't win football games against a good team like that.
Right.
I get it. Listen, I get it. Great. You made it to the Super Bowl. Great. Let me know when that second place banner is getting hung over there in Santa Clara. I'm going to tune into that football game and see y'all hang that banner. The problem is that you allowed Patrick Mahomes to get the ball last. And your defense couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop him in the fourth quarter when he drove right down. See, that's the problem for me. If, let's say, San Francisco was just locked down on Kansas City the whole game, I get it, right? But you didn't. You just watched this man walk your team all the way down, and they literally could have ran another play to try and score a touchdown in regulation. Yeah. They kicked the field goal to tie the football game there. You saw what he's doing to your defense. I'm not giving him the ball last. I'm not. Right. I'm telling Brock Purdy, we are either winning this football game with the ball on offense, or we are losing the football game with this ball on offense. We are not about to have Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brock Purdy stand on the sideline watching Patrick Mahomes walk us right down the field and put the ball in the end zone.
The man blamed it on analytics. He said he got with his analytics team, and they said that, hey, the third possession, you want the ball in your hand to control your own destiny. No. Like, why he thought it was going to get to a third possession, I don't know.
The problem with that is that when they talked to the 49er players after the game, how many 49er players came out and was like, I didn't know what the rules were.
Right.
We didn't talk about that in prep this week. Like, that right there is an indictment of your head coach, Mr. 28-3, Kyle Shanahan. You lost 100%. When you was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta. You let Tom Brady come back and beat you because you just kept throwing the football. He didn't learn that lesson, right? You let Patrick Mahomes beat you. It's just you let the Ravens beat. I just don't get it. Like, that logic makes no sense to me. And you lost another Super Bowl because of it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Were the 49ers a better team than the Chiefs?
They was more stacked than the Chiefs for sure.
They have a better roster.
Right. The 49ers all year long was the most stacked team in the NFL. Like, they really was. Like,
what if you put Patrick Mahomes on that 49er roster with those weapons?
Hey, you put Tom Brady on the 49ers, that's an easy Super Bowl win. Easy.
I don't get the logic of, like, being able to stand there after the Super Bowl and say the analytics is what told us to receive the ball. That's not good analytics. That's not smart as a head coach. And there is not a 49er fan or player that can convince me that taking the ball first when you know both teams get a possession, that was the best move. I wish, just like you ask us Cowboy fans to be honest with ourselves every time we say this is our year, and by the way, next year is our year, right? You guys want us to be honest? I need a 49er fan to step up and be honest and say, hey, we lost that Super Bowl by making stupid decisions and giving Patrick Mahomes the ball last. They won't do it. They on my Facebook going in talking about the Cowboys ain't made it in 30 years. Well, you ain't made it in 30 years. Y'all Super Bowl was in 95, ours was in 96. There's no second place trophy.
Right.
The Lombardi is in Kansas City at Patrick Mahomes' house.
And I also would like to know, like, what he saw, like, throughout the game or even in that fourth quarter that even made him think that receiving the ball and that he was going to hold the Kansas City Chiefs to just a field goal to get that third possession because Kansas City was kind of warming up a little bit. And I do agree with you that before the regulation ended, I probably would have ran one more play like, to the end zone because they had one more timeout. So I know the probably the fear of they gonna catch it in bounds and maybe time will run out. But I think if Andy Reid was standing by the referee like they normally would do in a situation like that and call a timeout quickly, I think in 6 seconds they've been able to do it. But I know he missed Rice right in the middle of the field for the walk-in touchdown. Maybe run that play
Yeah.
again and see what happens. If not, throw it away. But
run the corn dog play they ran in overtime that got the touchdown. I mean, he's literally wide open. Hardman catches the ball. Nobody is around him.
Right.
They ran that. Listen, that's not the first time they ran that play.
They run it all the time.
It's not the first time you've seen that. They ran the same play last year in the Super Bowl.
And what's funny about that particular play is in last year's Super Bowl, they set that play up so many times throughout the game because they ran it many times. I mean, they ran different variations of it where he actually did a jet sweep and then sometimes he didn't. But they got the Eagles on that like many times. I think on 2 touchdowns they got the Eagles. But shout out to Andy Reid, man. He's a great coach. He didn't run that play at all until that particular moment. So it kind of got him off guard. But I understood why he chose that Travis Kelce matchup with Fred Warner at the end because, Kelce did cook Fred Warner like the previous play for that long passing catch that he had. I actually thought he was about to score. I was like, look at this. Like with 10 seconds left, Travis Kelce about to score, and like that would have been a magical ending with all of the Taylor Swift things and stuff like that. But I understood why he chose that matchup. But he definitely had Rice wide open in the middle of the field for the go-ahead touchdown. So
I mean, there are just so many things that went wrong for the 49ers. Right. Greenlaw getting hurt. I mean, that was a big blow. That's a big blow when it's just him running off the sideline to get ready for the game. He's hyped, ready to go, and he has the injury, the Achilles injury. Like, right. I mean, there are so many things that stacked against him. The 49ers didn't. Yeah. The muff punt that hit off of the player's foot. There was a lot of things that went wrong, which means you got to be perfect in everything else to get over some of those things that went against you. Greenlaw gets hurt. That's a big blow to that defense. The fumble, which put Kansas City in scoring position right off the bat. It's just you can't make the other mistakes that you made. It felt like they weren't prepared for Kansas City's pressure. And we talked about Spagnuolo and what he was like. He wasn't going to just sit back and allow Brock Purdy time because when Brock Purdy had time to stand back, he was finding guys.
Right.
It's when that pressure started to get to him where he didn't make some really good decisions. His wide receivers didn't run very good routes, and he's having to get rid of the ball quick. And so once Spagnuolo kind of saw that and he felt, okay, he was smart about it. He didn't do it all the time. Right. He picked his spots to bring pressure and kind of confuse Brock Purdy. And listen, at the end of the day, Brock Purdy's going to get paid in this offseason. They're going to solidify. They're going to secure him for the next 5 years.
Well, he can't get paid this year, next offseason.
There is no way. I don't see any way the San Francisco's don't take care of him right now.
Okay.
They need to hurry up and take care of him because there's going to be teams that are going to vie for Brock Purdy. There's going to be teams that look at Brock Purdy and say, hey, this guy can help us. So I think the 49ers are going to be smart and try and take care of him now. If they wait a year, then now he becomes eligible to go anywhere else, whereby we just give you a contract extension. Right. But you have to prepare your team against a defensive coordinator like Spagnuolo because he's just one of those guys where when he sees blood, he attacks. And so he saw in that late in that game, hey, if I bring pressure and press these wide receivers and don't give him time to stand back there and throw this football, he's got to make a quick decision. It's not working. And that Kansas City defense, people don't talk about that secondary enough. They are very good on the back end. And so Chris Jones, and he brought pressure from the secondary. He brought pressure from multiple linebackers. Was just a great game. Now, at the end of the day, it was a great Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
It was competitive. Like, it started slow, but then all of a sudden those teams, they got going. It was a great Super Bowl, good halftime show. I mean, it was a good, entertaining Super Bowl. I picked the 49ers to win it. I was disappointed the way they let that slip out of their hands because they had that game won. They're up 10 points. They make some bad decisions, a couple turnovers. Christian McCaffrey fumbles, when they're in scoring position. Like, there's just a lot of things that went against them. But they're still going to be a good team next year. Like, let's be honest. They have weapons. The problem is I don't know if they got the right head coach.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Shanahan definitely is not one to like really make that many adjustments, and like you said, shout out to the Chiefs defensive coordinator on Spagnuolo, because when he brought pressure, it was like in the second half, so he didn't really show his hand that much in the first half, which would allow the 49ers to go into halftime and adjust and make some sort of changes to their offensive line and protection. He didn't blitz that package in the first half. So in the second half, when the Chiefs when the 49ers finally saw it, they weren't able to handle it. And then that pretty much sealed the game. But to your point, despite the injuries, despite the turnovers, despite the fumbles, everything that went against the 49ers, they still was in the greatest opportunity to still win this Super Bowl. Like, in the second half, Kansas City got the ball. They were still down 10 points. And they came out and punted the ball back to 49ers. Like, normally, typically, in a situation like that, a team is able to go down and extend the lead to 13 or maybe even 17. But the 49ers failed to do that in the second half. So that's what they just kept letting Kansas City hanging around. They weren't able to add no points onto the board. They weren't able. I don't think they ever even extended the lead beyond 10. It was always 10. They never got it to 13. They never got it to 17. And that's what really allowed Kansas City to hang around. Because I believe Kansas City, they got a field goal out of it before they start scoring touchdowns. But they're not able to seal the deal in the second half. And all you needed was just to take your points, get in field goal range, have your little field goal kicker come out there and extend it to 13. They extended to 13. It's looking hella good for the 49ers. But they came out there and started doing 3-and-outs, and it was a wrap after that, man.
And they missed the extra point. That was the missed extra point was huge, right? If they don't miss the extra point, Kansas City has to score a touchdown at the end of the game to win that football game. Versus now we just got to get in field goal range. Let their kicker Butker, I think is his name, kick a field goal. Who really never misses. Both of the field goal kickers were good for them, but that missed extra point. It's the little things in the Super Bowl. Listen. Okay, the number one comment all day long today has been 42-10. Yes, congratulations. You beat the Cowboys 42-10 in the regular season. I'm proud of you. Unfortunately, you lost 25-22 in the one game that truly matters because there is no next week. The Kansas City Chiefs are preparing a parade, and the San Francisco 49ers are back at the drawing board with the rest of the 31 teams that did not win the Super Bowl. It's the only thing that matters. Again, if your whole thing is just to make it to the Super Bowl, you're not doing the right thing. I promise you, ask anybody in that 49ers organization if making it to the Super Bowl is enough. I promise you it's not. Ask a Buffalo Bills fan from back in the 90s if making 4 in a row meant anything. You don't think Jim Kelly, Don Beebe, Reed, Thurman Thomas, you don't think any of those guys would give anything that one of those was actually a win and they were 1-3? It's all about winning the Super Bowl, nothing else. And yes, I posted on Facebook that I didn't care if the Chiefs won or the 49ers won. Didn't make any difference to me because it's not my team. I don't care. I'm mad that my team got beat in the wild card. I'm pissed at that. But if you think just making it to the Super Bowl is just as important, you are delusional. Because there is only one objective for all 32 teams when the season starts. It's to host the trophy at the end. And only 1 out of 32 teams get to do it. So there's one winner and there's 31 losers. Welcome to the loser bracket, San Francisco. Join us. We've been sitting here for a couple weeks waiting on you guys.
Yes. And San Francisco, like some of their stars went MIA as well. And we talked about it earlier. Not really CMC. Like for me, I know all week long and all season long, I've been like been like trying to tear down Brock Purdy. Like for me, this game right here, Brock Purdy was not the reason why they lost. Like he could have played a
No.
lot better. He could have like put them in even a more better position and completed some passes that just was like lame duck passes to make them get in better field goal range and stuff like that. This loss ain't on Brock Purdy, and that kind of pains me to say because I love trolling Brock Purdy, but this loss ain't on Brock Purdy. Where was Debo Samuel at? Where was George Kittle at? I saw a clip that said George Kittle was waiting on this moment the last time he was in the Super Bowl, and at this particular Super Bowl, he's going to come back with a vengeance. That man was MIA. Like, granted, he got a little bit injured. He got a little bit injured, granted, but Debo was missing. George Kittle was missing. Trent Williams is out there, like, getting stupid penalties. I mean, it seemed like to me they only really good at dancing and carrying the boombox coming onto the field. Like, maybe they need to stick to that because in big games, those guys go missing. Well, not George Kittle. Debo had go missing from time to time. George Kittle normally shows up. But they was missing some stars, man. And but even despite Kittle, that, they still was in position to win. So
correct.
And then they choked it
and should have won. Two catches for Kittle for 4 yards. Debo Samuel, 3 catches, 33 yards. Who is their best wide receiver? Christian McCaffrey, 8 catches for 80 yards. He also had 80 yards on the ground. So Christian McCaffrey had 160 yards of offense,
right?
When they had 382 yards total, and he had 160 of that.
Right.
Again, big time players step up in big games, and Patrick Mahomes has done time and time and time again. He has a track record that he shows up when it matters most, and you allowed him to have the ball last. Nobody listen. Again, our guy Tatted 49er is he's one of our guys. He was very blunt. Like, we gave this game away. There was no reason we should not have won the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs won, but the San Francisco 49ers allowed them back into that football game. 100%. You're up 10, and you disappear in the third quarter when you have an opportunity to put the Kansas City Chiefs away. That's the difference. Mistake after mistake, and then not knowing the overtime rules as a group, as a team, to not talk about that leading up to that week. Like, hey, guys, and even the Chiefs players came out and said, listen, we had a plan. If they get the ball first and they score a touchdown, we're going to score and go for 2 to win the game. Yep. If we get the ball first, we're doing everything we can to get a touchdown. And it was like, I didn't see that same preparation on the other side. I didn't see 49er players come out and said, listen, we talked about the overtime rules. This is what we were going to do. There were way too many 49er players that got to the podium and said, we didn't even know what the rule was.
Right. But that's to me, that's kind of a cop-out, though, because they didn't really, like, lose because of the rule. They didn't know the rule. I mean, they didn't stop Kansas City either. Kansas City.
I understand that. So yes, I understand that. But if you look at it, where if we give Kansas City the ball first and Patrick Mahomes does what he does and he drives them down, he throws a touchdown to Hardman and they kick the extra point, and now Kansas City is up 7. San Francisco doesn't kick the field goal. They go for it on 4th and 5. Right. And they try and score a touchdown. What you did was you told Patrick Mahomes, we don't think you can get a touchdown. We only think you can get a field goal, and we're going to hold you to the field goal. Again, they just watched him walk your defense right down the field in less than 2 minutes and put the ball inside the 10-yard line. If there's literally 10 more seconds on the clock, they might have won that game in regulation. Right. Because and listen, you had him in 2nd and 14. You had him in 4th down. Patrick Mahomes beat you with his legs. He beat you with his arm. He handed the ball off to Pacheco. They throw the little tight end screen to the middle of the field. I mean, they did everything possible. As a 49er coach, I'm not allowing Patrick Mahomes to have the ball last. That's just, I can't. I'm not going to allow it. No. I want the ball in my hands. I want it in Brock Purdy's hands. If I think he's the man, I want it in his hands to be the last person to touch that ball. We either win the Super Bowl or we lose it with our offense on the field. Not watching Patrick Mahomes do what he has done so much in this league.
Facts. I totally agree with you.
That's just the end for me.
I totally agree. So before we get out of here, let's play the what if. So if San Francisco did win that game, who would be MVP? I got my answer, but I want to hear who would be MVP for the San Francisco 49ers for you.
I think it's easily Christian McCaffrey. To me, Christian McCaffrey is, when he was in Carolina, everybody talked about that he was just this utility player, right? Christian McCaffrey has proved I can run in between the tackles, I can run outside the tackles, I can line up as a wide receiver, I can catch the ball up the backfield. He is the Swiss Army knife of that offense. He is what makes that offense go, right? And he played his butt off in that Super Bowl, right? He had the fumble, but he also had a touchdown. He has almost 100 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving. And he had that offense going. I mean, they were relying on him, right? And I think as long as he is going, that offense is successful. If you can hold Christian McCaffrey and make the 49ers one-dimensional, it kind of shuts them down. It's why they're so successful, because it's hard to stop both. It's hard to say, okay, we're going to focus on Christian McCaffrey. You got two great wide receivers, one of the best tight ends in the league. It's hard. Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I mean, they have the weapons. We talked about, I mean, they got probably the best D-line. Where was that D-line at? Patrick Mahomes is standing up, throwing dots on you.
Right.
I thought going into this game that the amount of weapons the 49ers had was just going to be too much for this Kansas City team, and that Kansas City didn't have those same weapons on offense. What they did have was they had Superman at quarterback, and that's what mattered most. And that's why he is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. I'm sorry if you're a Josh Allen fan.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes continues to prove when the chips are on the table, and this is why Tom Brady was great, right? Because Tom Brady could have a horrible game, but 2 minutes left in the game, fourth quarter, you hand him the football and say, Tom, we need a touchdown.
Oh,
Tom Brady, time after time, drove his team down the field and put his team in position to win football games. That's what Patrick Mahomes does. And he didn't play great in the first three quarters. He played great in the fourth quarter and overtime. Looked like he was the best player on the football team for both teams. I'm heartbroken for 49er fans, really. I really am. I picked them to win. Y'all let me down. I'm certainly glad you guys didn't get your 6th Super Bowl trophy. You still got 5, just like the Cowboys. And then we'll see next year what both of these teams do. 49ers are still going. They're winning that division again next year. They're going to be a top 3 team in the NFL for quite some time. They have the weapons. But now it's all about, can this Dallas Cowboy team find a way to get back where they belong and back in the Super Bowl?
I agree.
Then maybe we get a participation trophy.
I agree, but just to go back to the MVP, I would probably have given it to Juwan Johnson. I think he was having a hell of a game, and I know he threw that touchdown pass. He had another receiving touchdown pass as well. I think he was playing lights out. But if Christian McCaffrey ended the game with 80 yards rushing, if he ended the game with 100 yards rushing, the 49ers would have won that game, because just hand the ball off, man. Like, you didn't even really have to pass it.
Yeah, Juwan had the one touchdown throw. He only had 4 catches for 42 yards.
Mm-hmm. Well, he caught it at critical times. When he caught it, when he
was really definitely big for them. He was big for them, and I think he has to be, right, because people are going to try and take away Debo. They're going to take away Ayuk. They were focused on Kittle. I mean, Kittle was non-existent. So Juszczyk and Juwan, they really have to step up and make plays, and they do make plays. They just didn't make enough plays, and then their head coach let them down in the end.
Right. And it seemed like maybe Debo was hurt, so he's out there probably playing.
Yeah, I don't think Debo was 100%.
Yeah, but what was Brandon?
Ayuk was non-existent. What Ayuk have? 4 catches?
Yeah, he was in my
3 catches for 49 yards. Obviously, Debo was not 100%. He was in the blue tent a couple times in that game. I didn't think he was coming back after he pulled what I thought he pulled a hamstring. Great for him to get back on the field and try and fight through that, knowing it's the last game of the year. But their stars just didn't show up when it counted. And then they just made some bad decisions at the end of the game. And here we are. Congrats, you made it to the Super Bowl, but you didn't win.
Would you fire Kyle Shanahan?
No, I would. No, I think that's a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's the same thing, right? People are already on social media talking about Patrick Mahomes is in the GOAT conversation. Like, calm down. Tom Brady played 22 plus seasons. Like, calm down. He's got 7 Super Bowl rings. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and be in the moment. Say, congratulations, Patrick Mahomes. You won another Super Bowl. You got 3. Obviously, he's a top 5 quarterback of all time. But I'm not going to tell Kyle Shanahan, who's been successful. He's taken this team to the Super Bowl multiple times. If Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, they probably are in 3 Super Bowls versus the 2 with Brock Purdy. I just hate the knee-jerk reaction of, we got to get rid of this head coach because he can't win the Super Bowl. He's taken this team. He took the team with a subpar quarterback to the Super Bowl. He's taken them with Brock Purdy. He loses in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles. This is a successful head coach. He took the Falcons as offensive coordinator to the Super Bowl. I mean, this guy is talented. But listen, at the end of the day, talented coaches are very rare. He just went up against Andy Reid, who we can talk about as one of the greatest coaches of all time, and he got out-coached, is all it is. This is a learning experience for Kyle Shanahan. They'll be back next year. They're going to be a good team. Christian McCaffrey's not falling off. Brock Purdy's not falling. They're still a good football team. But you didn't win your 6th Lombardi. And so the race for 6 is still on, Richblkman. The Cowboys got 5. The 49ers got 5. Who is going to get to that 6th Super Bowl first?
Right. And our Super Bowl is more recent than the 49ers, so that's all that really matters.
Correct.
That's a fact.
Correct.
That's not us being delusional. That is 100% fact that the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl is more recent than the San Francisco 49ers. Getting to the Super Bowl 3 times and losing is just bad. Like, you don't hang participation banners up in your stadium. You don't get certificates for that and nothing like that. So I don't even know why. We just made it. And you lost. Nobody remembers the loser, man. Everybody only remembers the winner. They know that you went and you lost. Like I said, the 49ers are building their case for future Jeopardy questions, right? So who went to the Super Bowl 3 straight times and lost? The answer is the San Francisco 49ers. So, I mean, come on. They're building future Jeopardy questions.
Listen,
and if I was being unbiased, I would go even further and say that the San Francisco 49ers are just the Dallas Cowboys in red and gold. They're the luxury version of the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I'm saying?
They the upgrade. They the pro version, right?
You know how we
the light. We the app. When you get the app, you get the light version, and then you got to upgrade to the pro version. They the pro version to the light version.
Yeah,
but you got to think
with cars though, right? Because if you look at Toyota, the Toyota is the base, but then the upgrade to that is Lexus. So currently the Dallas Cowboys are the Toyota and the San Francisco 49ers are the Lexus. So they just an upgraded version of the Dallas Cowboys currently. And they still can't win. So it doesn't bother me.
I feel bad. I feel bad for their fans. I really do.
Right.
I feel bad for their fans because, listen, as much as it hurts me as a Cowboy fan to watch my team get bounced in the first round or the second round of the playoffs every year or not make the playoffs, how much does that got to hurt to watch your team be the best team in the NFL the whole year?
Go further than
dominating the playoffs.
Right.
Get all the way to the Super Bowl and lose multiple Super Bowls. Like that's got to be heartbreaking as a fan. I would love to see the Cowboys play in the Super Bowl, but I don't want to go to the Super Bowl if we're just going to lose. That does not help us. It gets you a worse draft pick and it's just a heartbreak later on in the year. At least I've had weeks to get over my heartbreak and watch other teams lose. Now we get a better draft pick than you get. So it's got to be rough as a 49er fan. I get it. Congratulations. You got there. You had a great year. Let's not take anything away from this team. They had a great year. They were the best team for 99.9% of the season. The problem is the Chiefs, who at the start of the year, people were talking about, does this team even make the playoffs?
Right.
They can't catch the football. They're not good enough. Are they going to win the division? They've had to go on the road in the play. They were the underdog going into this Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that matters is they were focused and prepared in that Super Bowl game and end up winning. And now it's a full off season of 49ers again, just like the Cowboys saying, what if?
Exactly.
What if Dak Prescott doesn't turn the ball over? What if our defense played better? What if we knew the overtime rules and didn't give Patrick Mahomes the football last? Sucks. It's a lot of what ifs in the offseason. Welcome to the loser bracket. We got plenty of room over here.
Exactly. We've been waiting on you guys for weeks. We knew it was eventually going
we
to
have.
happen. So, hey, but you're right. The 49ers definitely drag their fans along, just even worse than what the Dallas Cowboys do. So it's kind of heartbreaking for that. But congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Nobody thought you would do it. I had my doubts, but you never deny. You never forget the heart of the champion, which is what Rudy said for the Rockets. So they got heart, man. They did it again, back to back, going for a three-peat. It's gonna be even harder next year, but don't count out Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and don't count out Andy Reid. They lost Tyreek Hill. They lost their offensive coordinator, and all they keep doing is going to the Super Bowl and winning. So that lets you know who was important on that team. But here we are. So congratulations to them, man. I'm Richblkman, Expert Corner, Silver and Blue Huddle, Super Bowl edition. Shout out to the Chiefs, man. Thank you for doing what you're doing, okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. But we'll catch you guys on the next episode. You can watch the podcast on all your streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, stuff like that. Drop a comment into the comments. We'll read it. We may even answer it. I'm Pepper, according to a chatter, and this is my man Salt, okay? Salt and Pepper, you know what I'm saying? If that wasn't the funniest comment that I've seen in a long time.
I died. Listen, I died laughing at work when you sent that to me. Like, you won't believe this. And when I read the comment and he says Salt was wrong and Pepper was right, I was like, you got to be kidding me. What are we doing? What are we doing in 2024?
Exactly. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode, man. Silver and Blue out. Thank you guys very much.